Okay, everybody, happy hump day. It's Christina, and we have a wonderful special guest speaker tonight. Wanted to do just a little bit of housekeeping really quick. This call is being recorded, so if you would not like to be recorded, or if you object to that, please hang up now. Also, your phones or your PCs or your tablets, you have been muted. Let's keep it that way so we can let our guest speaker share her inspiration and motivation with us without any interruptions. We'll have Q&A at the end. If you want, just unmute yourself, ask questions. So tonight we have a special guest speaker. We have Chelsea Otto, and she is a superstar director with Scentsy, and she has been with the company for 7 years. And so for those of you guys that are looking for a goal or want to reach a goal, this is one. And hopefully you can share a little bit about her journey. She's going to speak from the heart. So I'm going to turn the floor over right away so we can get down to it, so we can hear Chelsea Otto.
All right. Well, thank you for that amazing introduction. So if you guys, I get blind, I swear. And so the reflection on my eyes, I'm sorry about that, but I can't help it. So again, my name is Chelsea Otto. I am a superstar director with Scentsy. I've been doing this for 7 years. I first started when we were stationed at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. If any of you guys are there, I miss that place so much. But in case you didn't know, my husband is in the Marine Corps. He is currently a wounded warrior, active duty right now. And we'll get into that in a second. But he came home one day and told me, hey, you should do this Scentsy thing. And I was like, this what? And he goes, this Scentsy thing. He goes, another guy at the unit, his wife does it. And I was like, you're crazy. Like, you've literally lost your mind. And then shortly after he came home and said that, we found out we were expecting our second child. And we were super excited, but at the same time, I was also having immediate complications, like literally days after finding out. I was in the hospital every other day during that pregnancy. And I had to leave my job. I was working at the Toys R Us / Babies R Us there in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Really crappy job, really crappy boss. I don't even think he was like there half of the time, but that's beside the point. And so I ended up having to leave. My doctor said, you need to get put on immediate bed rest. And at that time, we already had a 1-year-old. So being on bed rest was like a joke to me. I was like, you're crazy. Like, you can't be on bed rest with a 1-year-old. It's impossible. So again, my husband, Corey, brought it up again. He goes, you should try the Scentsy thing. So I said, fine. And I already had a warmer. After he brought it up the first time, I went and I bought a warmer. I bought the full-size rustic star and the mini rustic star, and the black raspberry vanilla and love story. Nobody reached out to me to thank me for their order. Nobody told me about any bundles. So that was one thing that kind of put me off. I was like, I don't want to be that person to be like, I don't want to be like that in this business, to not reach out and thank somebody for their orders and not remind them there are bundles, because I could have saved a lot more money doing that. So finally, I took like the last $99 that we had, and I joined. When I tell you that we were broke, we were broke. We would flip couch cushions. We were just talking about this the other day. We were flipping couch cushions to scrape for change, and like going in our glove compartment in our car, scraping for change, praying that there were some quarters that we could go and get food, get diapers, get whatever we needed, because my husband was a junior Marine and he wasn't making squat. So we took the very last $99 to join. And just a few days later, my kit arrived, and I was super, super excited. Had no idea what I was doing. I signed up under the spouse that of the guy that my husband came home and told me about. She didn't do anything for me, which is fine, because we have our workstation. We got YouTube. We got all the materials there. So we don't need our sponsor, but they're just a great person to go to for questions. So don't ever rely on your sponsor to do any of that. But shortly after joining, my husband had to leave. He had to go to training for, it was like a month and a half, 2 months. And I ended up in the hospital, and they had to Red Cross my husband home because we ended up losing our son at 17 weeks, and I had to give birth. And so 12 hours after, We had to say our goodbyes, and I had to leave the hospital with no baby. And that was probably the hardest thing that I ever had to do as a person, as a mom, just anyone who has to go through that. It's super hard, so hard. But thankfully I had my husband, and thankfully the nurses there were like, my nurse stayed with me 12 hours after her shift and held my hand the entire way. So I was super thankful for that. And so I was really depressed after leaving. I was really depressed. I didn't really focus so much on my Scentsy business, but it was there and it was still like doing its thing. I just wasn't doing anything. I'm going to be honest. My family and friends knew I was going through this, so they supported my business because they knew we needed the money. So I still hit shooting start and sensational start level 1 and certified and all that. But at that point, it wasn't that important to me. And then one day I woke up. It was like maybe a week or so after, we just lost our son. And finally I kicked myself in the butt and I said, my son needs his mom. My husband needs his wife again. Like, I was so depressed, guys, and it was really bad. I can't even explain how really bad it was. And I was like, fine, I need to just do something. So I was like, well, I have Scentsy. And I didn't really know what Scentsy still was at that time either. Like, I was only a few weeks in. So I get on my workstation and I see that I hit shooting star and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. And finally I was like, I just need to do it. I just need to share, just do something. I can't tell you what I did because I don't remember. That whole moment of my life was really foggy, but I do know that I just dived into my business. And once I did, that's when it really started flourishing, and blooming into something just amazing, something I could never have thought would happen. And so I hit director after a year being with Scentsy, and I got my first team member after 4 months. So guys, if you are just now joining and you think that people are going to join you right away, you're wrong. You're wrong. It took me 4 months, but guess what? She's still here. She's one of my amazing leaders, and we do this thing together 7 years later. So after a year and hitting director and earning my very first trip to the Bahamas, I was super, super, super excited to go to a free trip with Scentsy to the Bahamas. But then the Marine Corps threw me a curveball. They're like, no. Your husband has orders. You're moving. What? Okay. So we moved 4 hours north to Quantico, Virginia. If any of you guys are there, I don't miss that place. But the place brought a lot of amazingness to my business. I was really scared when my husband got orders. I was like, okay, I literally just got comfortable in my business. And then I quickly realized, in order to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. So this is like my sign that I have to get uncomfortable again. I got too comfortable in my business, and now life's going to, throw me out there and be like, nope, time to get uncomfortable. So when I got there, I was like, how the heck am I going to run this business again? And new girl, new town, new city, new state, new people, new base. And there's a lot of spouses on this base, and a lot of the spouses do direct sales. So I'm going to be that girl again. And you know what? I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I've done this now for over a year and a half. I don't care anymore. So I went back to the basics of my business, branding myself, talking to people I didn't know. I was that lady. I would get involved in my kids' school. My daughter and my son were both in a private preschool then because they couldn't go on base at that time. So thankfully, at that little bit of money that I was making went towards them going to private school. But then that also opened up doors for me there, because then I started reaching out to people and I would brand myself and they'd be like, oh, you sell Scentsy, what is that? And I would bring them samples. I would carry catalogs literally everywhere with me. Everywhere I went, I had something on me because I wanted to get my name out there. And even though there were people around me that sold Scentsy, I wanted to be different. I wanted to stand out. I didn't want to compete with them because I would always say, oh my gosh, hi, you're another Scentsy consultant. I'd love to get together. Let's go to Starbucks and drink all the coffee and talk all the Scentsy. But I wanted to stand out in my own way. I wanted people to want to come to me, not forcing on them, but them wanting to really want to order or join my team. And I did that by building a relationship without any expectations of them ever buying or joining my team. In this business, if you want something to grow, you have to plant roots. And it all starts with relationships. I'm going to say that again. In this business, if you want anything to grow, you have to plant roots. And it comes with relationships without expectations of people ever buying or joining. And so I really started connecting with the friends that I started making there, the wives that were part of my husband's unit. I started to figure out what what did they want? I would hear people saying they were broke, and I would hear wives saying, they want to spend time with their kids, or they wanted to bring in just a little bit of income to help their family for Christmas. Guys, I had that opportunity right in the palm of my hands. I just had to ask. I just had to share. And I always made my storefront on point and I mean my storefront, I mean my house. Like, I love decorating. And so decorating is like my way of sharing how you can have the warmers all throughout your house, how you can have the diffusers right next to your warmers. It's something that I love. And the first thing they see when they come in my house is Scentsy. First thing they smell when they come in my house, Scentsy. Well, first thing they could see is my dogs jumping all over them, but at least it's Scentsy right behind them. So I really just dove in when I got to Quantico, and that's when I hit Star Director in 2016, September 2016, and 2 months later I hit Superstar Director. We were still growing. I was still recruiting. I was still, having tremendous parties there. I just didn't let anything stop me. And then 4 houses down, there was another Scentsy consultant. And then a few months later, there was another one that moved in 2 blocks from me. So guys, don't ever say that your place is saturated, because that's a joke. That's you telling yourself that you just don't want to do it at the end of the day. Like, there's no place that's saturated. If anything's saturated, it's military bases, because that's all that we got. But we make it work. But guys, it's not saturated. People, you just got to cheer each other on. No competition. So I thought everything was great. I earned Superstar Director, top 100 to Africa. I was so excited to go to Africa. Well, the Marine Corps was like, no, honey, we're not gonna allow your husband to go. So I was like, ugh, all right. So I went to Punta Cana and we had a blast. He didn't get clearance for Africa, but it's fine. I still got to say I earned it. And then shortly after that, my husband called me. He goes, hey, babe, are you sitting down? I was like, no, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting the kids ready for school. He goes, well, you need to sit down. Okay. I got orders. What? Yeah. Where are we going? And so and he wouldn't tell me, so I named every base that we could possibly go to except one. And the one that I didn't want to say was the one we were going to, which is Okinawa, Japan. Talk about being scared. Talk about saying every bad name in the book except the Marine Corps. I did not want to go. I literally just got my business where I wanted it to be, where I was comfortable, right? No, we have to get uncomfortable. And I feel like life knows when I get comfortable, because then it shifts. It easily will throw a curveball at me. And you'll find out a lot more about curveballs here in a little bit. So I said, screw it. We got to go. I had to pack up everything. Our entire life was in boxes. All we could take was 16 bags, 16 suitcases, and 2 carry-on bags with us to Japan. And we weren't going to have our stuff for 2 months after arriving there. So in April, our family packed up and we left. And all I had with me was my my set of pods, a nightlight warmer, and 2 bars. That's all I could take with me onto a plane, and that customs would let me bring through. So we go and we live in a hotel for about a week, and then we finally get into our tower, because there everything's made out of cement because of typhoons. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was back in that mindset of, what the heck am I going to do? How am I going to run a business 13 hours ahead of the States? I don't know anybody here. I don't know how to speak half of the languages here. Like, it was such a culture shock to us, and an amazing culture shock, but it was still scary. And I had to go off Japanese laws there with my business, which really put a strain on a lot of things. But what did I do? I put my head down and I just did it. I was at the bus stop, like the second week we were there, because my son had to start school there. And I had a Scentsy shirt on, and a lady came up to me, and she's literally running. She goes, oh my God, you sell Scentsy, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she was like, do you have anything on you? And I was like, oh gosh. I said, I just got here. I said, I can get stuff ordered. And she goes, oh, so you don't have anything like right now? Because there in Japan, it takes like 3.5 weeks for your orders to arrive. It sucks, but it gets there eventually. And I was like, well, I do have this bar. I have these 2 bars. I can make up samples for you. And I tried to say that so nicely to her, because I didn't want to give up my own bars. but I had to. So I cut it up into the smallest samples. And I was like, here's a little bit of, I forget what it was. And I said, but I will have stuff coming. I have stuff when it arrives with our household goods, and I can get stuff ordered right now. She is still one of my best customers to this day. She's one of my best hostesses to this day. And the fact that I was completely open and honest and saying, look, this is how it is right now. We're waiting on our stuff, but I can give you the slightest little samples to give to you to go warm until your stuff gets here. She was super thankful that I even just gave her a small sample. So don't second guess samples. They can go a long way. They can do a lot of things for your business. So things were moving really quickly in Japan. I was booking parties left and right. I went back to that mindset of, okay, got a brand, got to get myself out there, got to get involved. You know, I know that there was Scentsy consultants in my tower. I didn't let that stop me. Again, I wanted to just stand out. I wanted to just let myself shine through, what I had to offer. I know I give good customer service, so let's continue doing that. And parties were going crazy. I was having 13 parties a month. I did not realize that parties were so big there, and I was having my best months ever in Japan. My sponsor, Karen Fettis, she warned me about parties there. She goes, people are going to eat you up over there knowing that you're a Scentsy consultant. And I was like, no, they won't. And yeah, they did. My husband was gone all the time. He was on ship all the time, so he was never home. So I had to make it work. I was basically a single mom raising 2 babies and running a successful business 13 hours ahead of the States. I was getting up early doing trainings, going to bed late doing trainings, getting up early, going to bed late, talking to my customers. Like, I just did not give any excuses because, one day I was like, I want to retire my husband from the Marine Corps. I want to get him out of this. Like, I know it's not his forever thing, but I know he wants to retire to say that he accomplished, that he finished that. And I know that was something really big for him, but I know that that's not what he wants to do forever. So I want to be able to retire him. So if I just stop and say, I'm not going to work today, like I'm just going to go binge watch Netflix, that's not going to get me closer to my goal. So November, a year from, what's the date today? Today is the 6th. So in 10 days, we will be, in 9 days, we'll be celebrating a year anniversary. It's a good and a bad anniversary. So November 15th, 2018, I received the most scariest phone call of my entire life. And I always say this before I start talking about it because I may or may not cry. It just depends on the day that I'm having, right? So November 15th, 2018, I got a phone call from my husband's colonel, and he said, Mrs. Otto. And I was like, yeah. Well, actually, I didn't answer his phone call for like 5 times. I couldn't get service there. Service sucks. So the only way he could get a hold of me was FaceTiming, and it was on speaker, and I had my kids in the back seat. So I'm holding it up like this, and it was like in and out a little bit, but he goes, Mrs. Otto, and I was like, yes. And he goes, I've been trying to call you. I'm like, I know, I didn't get any service, like, sucks here. And I was already frustrated with my kids, so I was probably really mean to him, and I didn't mean to. Sometimes it just happens. And he goes, man, we almost lost your husband, but we got him. And I was like, did you just say you almost lost my husband? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, what the HE double hockey sticks happened? And he said he got pulled in by a current. So the currents out there by Guam are like 20-foot swells. I mean, they're the worst type of water you could ever be in. No one has come out of those waters alive. So the fact that there was a guy that lived there that was a local in Tinian, where my husband was out doing a humanitarian mission after a typhoon came in from Okinawa. He was there doing a humanitarian mission, and it was the day before they were supposed to come home. They had like this beach party or like little grilling out, celebrating that they accomplished getting water back up there, getting the schools back up there, and they were out there just swimming. And then something caught my husband, and he just got pulled under by the current, sucked him in, and started throwing him up against the huge rock walls that they had there. And then it sucked him out about 2 football fields away from the beach. That's in distance. He was getting stung by jellyfish. He was getting cut up, and he's got scars all up and down his body from the coral cuts. He was out there for an hour and a half and over 100 degrees plus, trying to keep above water. He had water filling up in his lungs. And it took an hour and a half for rescue to come out there, because Tinian is a third world country and they're part of the United States. So everything there runs super slow. Like their cars I could run faster than their cars, and I don't even run. So that should show you. But it took them an hour and a half. Somehow, by the grace of God, a swell brought my husband in and threw him flat on coral and knocked him out. So the Marines came out and grabbed him and pulled him in. And when he came to, he started seizing. And they medevaced him to Guam. And remind you, I'm on the phone bawling. My kids hear this, and bless their hearts, they're asking if daddy's dead. And it was the worst thing a mom and a wife should ever have to hear. But they medevaced him to Guam, and he was stable enough to come home that next day. And something still wasn't right. He was talking to my daughter. He came home, and remind you guys, like, I was still working my business this entire time. Just going to throw that out there. He came home that next day, and then something still wasn't right. He wasn't there. And I knew that obviously he'd had like some serious we thought he had like head trauma. He had nothing, no scratches on his neck, no, not on his wrist, just everywhere else on his body. But he just wasn't there. And there's pictures on my Facebook that I shared where I was literally like a nurse. Like I was wounding or putting stuff on his wounds and scratches. Like it was bad, but something still wasn't right. I felt it. So I rushed him back to the ER, and where they did a CT scan, and that's where they found a growth on the left side of his head. It was a tumor. And that's when our entire life went upside down. So the hospital looked at us, the doctors, and they said, you guys are going back to the States. So we did. We packed up 16 bags again. We left all of our stuff in Japan, flew back. And thankfully we had amazing friends there to do the paperwork, to pack up our stuff, to get it ready for customs, to get it all packed up and shipped back to us. And that took about 5 months to get it back to us. So while we were in transit and while we got to Tokyo, I was still working my business. When we got to, where was it? Washington, St. Louis? No, somewhere on that side on the West Coast. It was a really blurry time. I was tired. I was still working my business. I was doing follow-ups. Guys, I even recruited somebody on my way to the States. Don't know who she was, but she joined my team, and I thanked her and I told her what was going on. And thankfully, my amazing group stepped in to help. And then we got to Washington, where we are currently at right now at Walter Reed in Maryland. And shortly after we arrived, my husband had a biopsy where we found out it was grade 2 oligodendroglioma, brain cancer. So when I say that accident was a blessing and a curse, it was. Does my husband suffer from PTSD now with water? Absolutely. And I mean, rightfully so. But now we have discovered a brain tumor. And he had brain surgery on Valentine's Day. Guys, the day before his surgery, I was doing a training, and right behind my laptop was the doctor doing the markings on his head. I was doing a training in the hospital for my team. That shows them that I'm not going to give an excuse. Just because my husband's getting ready to have brain surgery doesn't mean I need to stop working my business. Because now my goal is happening a lot sooner. Me retiring my husband is happening. Because we don't know for sure. I've heard people say, well, your husband's going to get medically retired. We don't know that for sure. That's never guaranteed. Never guaranteed, especially since we have to actually fight and bring proof, and we have to have proof that he got this during the Marine Corps, and he did. He did. He got it when he was at Afghanistan, but we have to show proof. But we have doctors on our side, but it's not guaranteed. So that means I need to continue working, and I need to actually step it up a notch to get my husband to retire so he doesn't have to worry. He doesn't have to worry about anything. You know what he needs to worry about? He needs to worry about kicking cancer's ass. Sorry if I can't cuss on here because I just did. But that's where my goals shifted. And so I started doing trainings mornings, evenings, middle of the day. I was doing follow-ups when I was on the toilet. I was talking to people when I was in the shower. Like, I'm not kidding when I say that I had to step up my game, because now things just got real. And if you guys don't know your why, or if you guys don't have something that's going to get you up every morning to want to work your business, you need to figure it out. Because if you don't know your why and you don't have a purpose of why you're doing this, you're just going to be stagnant. You're going to be like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and twirl my hair and log on my workstation and act like I'm doing something. But if you have a purpose and you have a why, you're going to want to get up and you're going to want to level up in your business. You're going to want to continue sharing your journey and having people want to join you on this journey. I cannot tell you the amount of people that came up to us at SFR. I don't even know half these people, but because they saw our journey and they wanted to, yeah, there you go. There's our Otto Strong bracelets, which I just found a whole, like 300 more of them in a box. So there's that. But if you guys don't know, and I'm trying not to cry because this is something I'm so passionate about. Guys, we were broke as a joke 7 years ago. We were flipping couch cushions. And now I am retiring my husband when he's done with treatment. I'm able to do that because of Scentsy. I would have never in my life thought I could ever do that. We have now been giving back to cancer charities, to brain cancer charities. We are now helping families that we know, that we're personally friends with, who are struggling. But we don't need people to, shout us out and do all that. We just want to genuinely do it because we know what it's like to be broke. We know what it's like to have your marriage crumbling over money. Money is very powerful. And I'm very motivated by money. So when I earned my very first $10,000 check, almost 2 years ago, last year, whatever, I was so motivated. I was like, oh my gosh, like, here we go. This is a sign for me. This is it. So I just kept working and I kept working and the money kept rolling in. And I honestly am so transparent with my team and my group that it really just resonates with them. They're like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to make that kind of money. And a lot of them, I will show up on my group page looking a hot mess. And I'm just like, look, guys, like, this is what I'm doing. Nothing special. And I'll even go on my group page and say, look, guys, I failed today. Like, my party flopped, whatever. But I'm so transparent because I want them to know that no matter what your title is, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Every single month, I'm an essential consultant working towards shooting star, certified, and sensational start level 1, 2, or 3. Those are my goals every single month. I'm no special. I don't even have a college degree, guys. I only have a high school diploma. But guess what? I'm a high school, not almost a high school dropout. I'm able to retire my husband, and I have a dream board right here. And if you guys don't have a vision board, dream board, mine's on paper because, well, we're in a really small apartment right now dealing with all this, but it works. But see, like, this is my dream board, my vision board. I look at this every single morning. And I have this, and then I also have visions for my business. You guys have to have 2 separate ones. You guys have to have visions for your life and visions for your business. And right now, yeah, cool, I hit superstar director. What's next? Okay, well, guess what? I'm going to level up and I'm going to try circle of excellence. I need 6 superstar directors to do that. Frontline. Yeah, it's not going to happen next month. It's probably not going to happen next year, but I'm going to make sure it happens one day, because that's going to get me out of bed every morning. That's going to get me to want to level up in my business. That's going to get me to do my follow-ups, to do my trainings, to want to bring people to the top with me. And the top's not scary, guys. Like, if you're intimidated by being a leader, don't be. It's really fun. If you're really passionate and genuine about it, it's really fun being a leader. It really is. Everybody has that leadership ability. You just have to find it. You just have to find your strengths. Your strengths are your leadership ability. That's what it is. I fail at a lot of things. I'm not well at fundraisers. I'm not well at home parties, but I do them if I have to. But guys, just rely on your strengths. and figure out your why. And remember that if you want something to grow, I say this a lot with my coaching calls. If you want something to grow, you have to plant roots. It's just like if you get a plant, you have to water it. You have to give it a little bit of sun. I mean, you have to love on it. You have to talk nice to it, right? Like it's the whole package. If you don't do one thing, it could die, right? Like it's a whole circle. You just got to take care of those plants. You know that movie, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, where she's like, it's a love burn. You let it die. That's basically what our business is. Like you have to keep that plant alive. You got to water it. You got to love on it. You got to do all the things. Give it a little bit of sunshine here and there. But guys, figure out your why. Really figure it out. And don't just say, my why is to be a superstar director. No. Go beyond that. Go way beyond that. Like, what do you envision for your family? Because if you're just envisioning superstar director, when you hit it, you're going to be like, oh, okay. All right. Now what? If you don't have something that's going to keep you going past superstar director, you're just going to get stagnant. And then you know what happens when you get stagnant? You get discouraged and then you fall off. And then you blame everybody else except for the one person who made your business stagnant. So that's really all I have, Christina. I'm so proud. I did not cry this call. Woohoo, yay me. So guys, just be super transparent and just be you.
Girl, you made me cry a couple times.
Sorry.
Well, that was amazing. 32 minutes of total awesomeness. My notes here, I have 1, 2, 3.
Oh, good. See, I didn't even come on here with notes. I don't like looking at notes because I'm just like this entire time. So that's why when you messaged me, I was like, I'm just going to speak from the heart and whatever comes out, I hope it sounds good. Because if it doesn't,
perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. I mean, it couldn't have been any better. I told them that you were going to motivate and inspire them, and you crushed it.
Oh, good.
If you don't mind, I'll open it up. If anybody has any questions for Chelsea, unmute your lines or wave your hand. If you're not on video, I can't see you waving your hand to tell me to take you off of mute, but just unmute your phone if you've got anything for her. We'd love to have her sit with us for a little bit longer and share some more of her thoughts and inspiration, and just keep giving it to us. Oh, we got one from Ashley.
Okay.
Ashley, you're unmuted.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
So, the biggest thing I think that stuck out to me that you said that I don't do or haven't gotten to is making my home my storefront, I think is what you refer to that as in notes. I guess for me, where did you start with that? That's something that I think of my business, and my business travels with me. Like I have my office in my house, but I don't have like my house set up to be a Scentsy showcase, or you know what I mean? Something like that. So what for you was important, and where did you start, I guess is the question.
So I had to ask myself, what's the first thing that I see or smell when I go into somebody's house? Or what's the first thing, anything happens to you when you go into someone's house? You smell. First thing. And my biggest fear was people were going to walk in my house and they could smell my dogs. I mean, my husband's military gear, they stink. Sometimes my kids stink when they've been outside playing. I was like, I don't want people to smell that. So right away I was like, I need to make sure right in front of my entryway that there's something going on all the time. And again, like I said, I love decorating. Like it's one of my big passions. I was that little girl who had like the old pizza dividers back in the day. I used to use those as like end tables and stuff. Like with my Barbies, I was that girl. So, so I just figured out how I could, I based my decor off of my warmers. I mean, I think that's every Scentsy consultant actually, but I just figured out what I would want to see if I was walking into somebody's house. Like if I'm walking through their entryway, am I going to see a pretty diffuser going on right here? Am I going to see a warmer? And I also want to showcase how a warmer and a diffuser can be right next to each other and like really work well together. By mixing, and I'll always have my oils right next to my diffuser to where I could show, like people ask, oh, what's that scent? I'm like, well, it's either It's either awesome apple or in next to it could be Johnny Appleseed. I said, but they really go well together because they're both apple. And one, that's a great conversation starter. Two, that's an upsell for a diffuser, oils, bars, and a warmer all together. But really, it really comes down to just me being super passionate about decorating. And every place that people go in my house, there's something Scentsy. When they go into my kitchen, they don't see the cleaning products. I'm going to be honest, because those are under my sink because I have kids and they like to just go and grab the stuff and spray. So those are under my sink. But I always have the hand soap. I always have the lotion right next to the hand soap. And usually that's what kind of propped up on like a little cute little table that you can get out of the Target dollar bin or the dollar store. And it's just propped up nicely. Like it's like you're walking through, oh my gosh, one of my favorite restaurants, Cracker Barrel. Like you're literally walking through Cracker Barrel and you're just kind of gravitating towards like, ooh, that's super pretty. Oh, that's shiny. I need to grab that. So that's kind of what I think about too when I'm decorating. I'm like, does this feel like Cracker Barrel? Will they just be so gravitating?
That's one of my favorite places. That's a good example.
Yes, I love that place. And so you have to think about it. Like think when you're decorating and when, you're thinking of your storefront, think of Cracker Barrel. Like every place you go, there's a space for certain decorations in Cracker Barrel. You got your kids corner, you got your rustic area, you got your Christmas stuff, your clearance. So like everything has a purpose and a place. So just think of it like that. And don't be afraid to get unique and all that. Like send me a friend request on Facebook and you'll see all the crazy stuff that I do with my stuff.
For sure.
Like, it's different and it has a little bit of Japan, Bali, Germany, American, all the things.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else want to jump on? Any other questions?
Oh, Eva.
Camila, you're alive.
Hi guys. So if Eva has a question, Chelsea, we love you, and I always love hearing from you. And your story made me cry and have all the emotions as a new postpartum mama too. So I love hearing your story, and so thank you for sharing. But we sat here and we wrote all the notes.
I love it.
We wrote all the notes. But Eva had some questions for you.
Well, wasn't really questions, but I wanted to touch base on something that you said that was important. That I wanted to reiterate with everybody that's listening. First of all, I think you're amazing. I love you.
We know you're amazing.
We know you're amazing. Okay. And two, you couldn't hear us talking, but she's like, do you know where she is and how close she is? And I'm like, oh my Google. And I'm like, she's an hour and 20 minutes from me. Girl.
For me?
Yes.
All right. Well,
Girl, I Google mapped it. We have to get together.
yes.
Okay. So, first thing I put checks by things, but, back when, the beginning where you lost your son, and I am so sorry. I can't even imagine. I had losses early on, but I can't imagine what you went through. And this is something that we need to keep in mind when we are offering. Sometimes things will hold us back from offering the opportunity to people because we think they have too much going on, right? They have too much on their plate. But sometimes people need the distraction. That I call it the beautiful distraction. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, I didn't realize how much I needed Scentsy. Like it gives them that thing to focus on over and beyond what they're dealing with in their life, right? A lot of times with moms too, like they need that thing just for them. Talking to people you don't know, branding yourself, that's huge. Huge. You have to do that. Getting back to basics. I've been doing this for 8 years, and sometimes I'm like, you feel like you get in that little bit of the rut, and you're like, okay, what was I doing in the beginning when I was doing really, really well, right? I was doing this and this and this and this and this. You've got to get back to basics. Important. I love that. Relationships. Most of the people we sponsor, if you go and you look, it's not just that random person that you just handed a sample to somewhere, right? This is about people building relationships. I mean, just seeing that someone had a bad day and you reach out and say, you know what, I don't know what's going on with you. I know you're having a bad day. I just want you to know I'm thinking about you.
Well, and I love that she said, like, building relationships without expectations.
Without
anything
expectations.
happening.
Yes, that's what it says. Without expectation. Yeah, that's huge.
I love that. Like, that kind of struck a chord with me, Chelsea, like, just making sure to, like, just talk to everyone, be authentic, and talk to everyone. and have no expectations just other than just being you, and just, you know, because that's going to strike something with them, whatever the situation is, whatever they're going through. You never know what it is. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I have a friend I knew since kindergarten. She's never bought from me. She's never hosted a party for me. I've never talked to her about joining, but I know she lost her daughter several years ago. Still kind of an unexplained death. She was in her 20s. And one day she posted a picture with her and her daughter and her sons and how much she missed her daughter. And I just reached out genuinely from my heart and said, I can't imagine how hard this has to be for you. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about you today. And she said, thank you so much for reaching out. It means a lot to me. And the next thing she said was, you know, I've thought about becoming a Scentsy consultant. Mm-hmm. I think I'd be great at it. And honestly, like, I had no intent. It was really just authentically from my heart. So, and that comes back. So without expectations, listen to people, listen to what they want. You were talking about that. You have to really listen. And they say you have one mouth, two ears. So listen twice as much, right? Listen to what they're wanting. And your why. Figure out your why. You know, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've been doing this 8 years, and I think I've really figured out my why just 2 years ago. Your why, I know this is going to sound nuts, but I know we wouldn't do this for free, but your why can't be about money. Can't be about, oh, I want to be with my kids. Because I don't think most good parents want to be with their kids, right? Like, they want to have more time with their kids, but it really has to be about you. Something that this does for you. And I know that may sound selfish, but it's true. Like, what does this do for you? And for me, it makes me feel good when I offer an opportunity and I see that it's changed someone's life. That is what fuels my fire.
Yep.
Chelsea, I can tell you, when I was following on Facebook, and I didn't message you because I knew everyone was messaging you, but when I saw what happened with your husband and the thing in the water and all that, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And then when I heard about the cancer, I was like, that happened in the water, because if it hadn't, you wouldn't have known what was happening here.
Exactly.
Like, whether you believe or not, but God had a plan. Like, it was meant to be that way. I want you to know that we love you. We're praying for him and you.
Thank you.
We think you're amazing. And because of you sharing your story, this shows people there are no excuses. No matter what you're going through, girl, you were doing that in the hospital. Like,
yeah,
you can make it happen. Move to a different country.
Yeah.
When your teammate, I can promise you, when someone messages you on day one and says, I can't get my $200 in, you're like, girl, bye.
Yeah.
You can. Yes.
I can tell you a story.
You can.
Exactly. And that's why, like, today, I even shared on, because today we were busy, like, all day. Like, I'm busy. I'm gone all the time at the hospital. I live at the hospital, basically, with my husband, because he has MRIs, he's got follow-ups, he has counseling, he's got all the things. He's got all the things. And I even shared today, I'm like, I have to take things with me to go make my business work. So you have to prioritize what's important to you. And if you don't know what's important to you, then you need to figure that out. Start with small goals. Do 3 to 5 small tasks a day. If you feel like you are doing all the things, guys, please cut them out. Like, cut the fluff right now. Like I said in the beginning, go back to the basics, focus on your strengths, do what you're really good at, and stick to that. Like, if you're not good at, like, fundraisers, like I'm not, okay, cool. If people ask me about it, I'm like, well, I have somebody else that's great at fundraisers, and I explain that they should go to them, or I'll find an answer if I don't know it. But you don't have to know all the things. You don't have to know all the things. You don't have to do all the things, because you're going to get really overwhelmed. I don't do whiff boxes because I don't have time. And since these whiff boxes are amazing, so I just focus on that. I don't do a lot of things, but I do things that I'm really good at, and I do that really well. And I stick to those things, like little small grab bags, those kind of things. I stick to that because it's what works in the season of life that I'm in right now. And you have to figure out what works for you. And what works for you may not work for somebody else, but I promise you, you need to continue sharing what you're doing, because you could inspire somebody else to try something new. And something Eva said that really, I forget, but, and that happens a lot. So yeah, guys, like 0, 0, 0 excuses will come from me. I don't tolerate excuses. My team knows that. Everybody I talk to knows that. So if they come to me with a problem, they better have a solution following behind that problem, because I will not respond. I will respond nicely. I'll just be like, okay, well, if you have not reached your 200 in the month, that means that, you're not actually working and you're not actually buying our products. Seriously, I will excuse bus anybody. I'm pretty sure. Like, that's just, I can't. If I can run a very successful group and hitting thousands of dollars of PRV every single month and having a group of 1,700, whatever, I don't even know anymore, you can do it too. Again, you just have to be tough love. You have to be firm. You have to know what you want out of this business and just choose kind. Oh, I had my shirt on earlier. It said choose kind. So that's not the shirt I was going to show you. But I had a shirt on earlier that says choose kind, be genuine. I feel like I just totally flashed you guys, but I did not mean to do that. So just be you. And find your people who really are going to help you. Find your people that are really going to keep you accountable. Because if there's one toxic person in your life, they're going to trickle in and they're going to try to take away all your thunder, but don't do that. Trust me, learning experience, learning it. So get what you want out of this business, but do it with a purpose. And like Eva said, you have to know your why. You need whatever is helping you. If it's helping you gain confidence, stick to that. Scentsy's so good with that. I feel like I was just Heidi doing that because she always does this, ready to cry. But seriously, but guys, this business is so amazing. I can't tell you how amazing this business is. And that's all for now.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? If not, I know you're all going to run and tell your team members to listen to the playback that I'll post soon. So I'll end this with a huge thank you. Chelsea, fabulous. Oh my gosh. Even though I took notes, I could probably go back and listen to the recording and pick up on more things that I didn't pick up on because I was just blown away by some of the stuff that you were saying and I was in the moment. I might have missed something coming up. So I can't thank you enough for coming on for our group tonight, taking the time away from your family. Corey, the kids, I know it's probably late there. And those of you that joined live, thank you for coming on tonight. For those of you that are listening, thank you for stopping and listening to the recording. This one's almost at an hour and it's completely worth it. So again, have a fabulous night and we'll talk to you guys again later.
Thank you.